G'day everyone, welcome to another video by myself, Andrew DFT. And of course, this is part 2 for the How to Clone Scout Trooper web series. Today we're going to be jumping in and working our way down. Of course, in part 1 we focused on the helmet. Now we're going to go ahead and tackle the chest and the back piece. These of course are the main centerpieces you want to get accurate. It might require a bit of skill and patience, as you'll see as we go through the tutorial, because a lot of sections like this backpack are rather intricate but can be glued together quite well. And as you go through, you will realize how to kind of make it structure and how to fit it better to your body. But this is what you're going to be achieving by the end. Of course, it's all EVA foam using the 1/4 inch thickness. So let's go ahead and get started on the build. Alright, so to jump in, go ahead and grab the template. We've only got 1/2. You're going to have to then flip it to make 2. You want these in 2 separate pieces because we're going to have a seam connecting in the middle, which is this piece here. Go ahead and cut that piece out of the paper and then make a copy on the foam. Now we're using the 1/4 inch foam here, not the 1/2 inch, as we need this to be nice and thin. You'll see this dashed line indicating we're going to do some kind of bevel technique. You can go ahead and manually draw that in and then take a craft blade, cut halfway through the foam and then come back in on one side on a 45-degree angle, creating this nice kind of hinge effect. You can then heat up the foam to make it have this nice kind of curvature like this. Of course, it's going to wrap around the chest. Then what you're going to do is grab the middle seam piece and the one of the left or right chest pieces, and you're going to glue these in. You're not going to glue these in flush. You're going to have it on a nice kind of bevel or terraced effect so that it sits below one another. From there, you're going to grab this template, which is going to be the under boob chest part, or whatever you want to call it, the trim. You can then transfer that onto the foam, but be sure to flip it at once so you get a left and a right. Then with the top sides marked here, make sure you line them up properly and get the right side. You're going to go ahead and actually bevel it off, being as close to the tip line as possible. You're going to carefully go through that and cut it off on a 45-degree angle. The reason we're doing this is it's going to allow us to kind of bend it across and have it all sit in there nice and symmetrical. You'll notice we have this nice sharp edge going across here. Of course, that's now where we're going to go take this section after we've heated it up. We're going to actually glue it in and carefully, very carefully, wrap it around. It should naturally want to bend and go in that shape, but you can see here it kind of curves in that nice flow. So as long as you take your time, glue each side in, you shouldn't have a problem in capturing the form and having that nice kind of hangover. Once you have both sides glued in, we're then going to bring it all together and glue it into the nice medium. Now centerpiece. Now you will notice that it kind of curves even further, which is fine. The one you're actually seeing now on screen is a bit different to the one I've actually got in the final template. I adjusted it a bit just to make it not so acute and pointy. Now of course we've done the front piece, so we're going to go ahead and start assembling the back. You can grab the piece of paper that of course spans over 2 sheets, cut them out and then tape them together so you have this whole section. You can then follow the same process of actually transferring onto the foam, the 1/4 inch, and then heating it up, both sides, and then giving it the nice kind of curvature to allow it to of course wrap around the back, and then you're simply going to glue the seams together. You don't need to bevel or do anything crazy, you just simply need to glue them together. Make sure the seams are as flush as possible, but really it's not going to matter too much because we're actually going to have the backpack kind of scout trooper thing that they have on their backs covering this whole seam, so you're not actually going to see it, so there's no need to make it perfect or try hide it with some other materials. Once you've got that both sorted, you can now start assembling it up in the top. This is of course where it's going to wrap around over the shoulders and of course under the armpits. Now you will notice under the armpits we have this kind of overhang. It just happens in the way the foam is constructed and the templates are built, but go ahead and just trim that off to make it flush, and then we can start working on the upper pauldron or upper arm piece band, whatever you want to call it, that goes over the shoulder. So what we're going to do is just simply cut out the template, transfer it onto the foam, 1/4 inch, and cut 2 sections out, heat them up, and then you're going to wrap them carefully over the shoulder to cover that seam. And this will actually, we'll put in some detail by simply drawing in these lines. It's just kind of the clone trooper look and feel that the costumes have. And then you can go ahead and bevel these lines, score these lines by cutting a blade just through the surface. And then of course when you apply some heat to this, those lines will expand and you'll be left with a nice piece of detail that's just very simple but yet effective, which is what we want. Now we can start to assemble the back, whatever it's called. Go ahead and cut out this template marked on the screen and truck that onto a 1/4 inch piece of foam. Now you're also going to flip the template to make it a solid piece, not 2 separate. It won't work if you have 2 separate. It needs to be a solid piece with its entirety. What you're now going to do is, of course, go where I've marked out and actually heat up all of this pieces of foam. Now we are needing to bevel these edges, so we'll go ahead now and bevel out the sides. You don't need to do the back, we're just going to go ahead and bevel out all these side edges from the side to the top and back down. We want to cut these in on a 45-degree angle, reason because these are all going to wrap around. We need these to be as clean as possible, so that way when it does wrap around we get as flush as we can and have a nice effect. We can then go over this template here, which is of course the part that kind of covers it and fills it all in and gives us the depth and the thickness we need. Now I'm doing this out of 1/2 inch foam. The reason because I need this to be kind of sturdy and hold the whole form together. So once you've cut that out, you can simply go ahead and wrap this thing around. Of course you've heated it up so it should be malleable, and then you can simply glue that section in. Once that's glued in, you can go ahead and start gluing in these seams. Because we beveled them, they should be able to sit roughly together pretty damn well and hold its form once it's cured. Now we're going to actually go ahead and glue this into position now and then build the remaining sections on top of it. So of course lay that into the center and go ahead and mark it out with the pen where it's actually going to sit, so that way we can apply the glue to the surface and to the actual design and then have it sit in there somewhat nice. Try and keep it as vertical as possible and just give it a good amount of time to dry and cure, so that way it's set in there nice and solid. Once that's complete, we can of course go ahead and start to assemble the side panels that will of course be an addition to that main piece. Grab the template, transfer it onto the foam. We'll have two, so be sure to flip it onto the 1/4 inch. You can then grab this section here and transfer that also onto 1/4 inch. You don't need to do the 1/2 inch like we did with the main centerpiece because we've already got that established, so it should just be a nice little add-on and hold this position rather well. We're then going to need to bevel these edges, so you're going to need to do the sides and the kind of V shape, and then of course the bottom. Now the reason we're going to be doing these is because this is of course going to allow us to wrap it around and sit in there structurally and hold its position rather well. So then go ahead, heat it all up, go ahead and add in this kind of depth form piece that of course allows us to hold its strength, and then go ahead and glue in all these V compartments, which of course will wrap around because they're beveled and sit in there rather nice and keep it as flush as possible. Once you've got that structure holding its position, you can then start to mark out where it actually sits up against the main centerpiece we glued in a minute or two ago. You want to make sure you do this in stages, so glue in the top part first, then slowly mark out where it's actually going to sit and work your way around with the glue strands to make sure it sits in there very well and that both sides, the left and the right, look rather familiar. You can then go ahead with a sharp craft blade and take off the very pointy edges that we've of course used to stick all these pieces together where we had initially beveled. This way it kind of wraps it around a bit better, and you can go ahead with some art clay later on and make that a bit more smooth. So that's it. Hopefully it's now all constructed for you. Remember, this is a general size. I can't give a 100% figure for every single body type out there, so hopefully this is big enough to fit. What the main section will be is this will all fit fine. It'll really be how wide or large your chest or stomach is, so you can actually add additional thickness to the under armpit area. Now what you can do is, unlike this one, which I actually sealed both the seams together and I took it off as kind of an armored chest plate. If you want, you can seal up one of them and then use the other side as a clip. Once you of course PVA, glue or plastic dip this together, that seam should be pretty seamless, but with your arm down there you're never really going to notice, so that gives it a nice kind of way to fit it together. If you wanted to have both sides as clips, then you're more than happy to do so. It just depends on how you personally want to fit it to your body. But that's it. Of course now you can go ahead and click on part 3 where we'll tackle the arms. We've got the shoulders, the biceps and the elbow. The gloves you can do by yourself. You're just going to go out and buy some rubber gloves and just paint them black if you need to. But these sections here we'll go ahead and tackle, so that way you can really start to assemble the top half. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It lets me know you enjoy this content. And if you have other friends that want to see this Clone Scout, give them the link. Get more clones built into the community. And until the next one, catch you later.